Good evening. This is the City Planning Commission, Farmington Hills meeting, public hearings tonight. Start time 7:30 p.m. Calling the meeting to order. The clerk will take the roll, please.
Commissioner Brickner?
Here.
Conigan?
Here.
Grant? Here. Nanti?
Here.
Stimson?
Here.
Varga?
Here.
Ware? Here. Chair Trufflet?
Here. Thank you. I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda as published.
Motion we approve the agenda as published.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Consideration of approval of draft of City of Farmington Hills 2024 Master Plan for Future Land Use. I'll open up the public hearing. If anybody wishes to speak to this topic, please come forward. Nobody's moving, and I will close the public hearing.
Okay.
Jill, did you want to talk?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, we did a little set of slides to celebrate the conclusion, we hope, the very near conclusion of our master planning process, which, as you all know, is really the beginning of a lot more work for you. So I hope you're ready to get going on that. We intended the slides to be kind of helpful for the public, so we appreciate you coming to our meeting. And if, Eric, if you want to just flip through it, this will be really a repeat for all of you who've worked on this so hard for so long. Just to discuss and review again what a master plan is and how it's prepared, the purpose of it. This is the city's policy document. It is not an ordinance. It is really our blueprint for the future. The master plan illustrates the way in which the city intends to grow and change and develop and accommodate new land uses and business activities in the future. We have a 10 to 15 year planning horizon with this last plan being adopted in 2009. So it's been some time since this last plan was adopted. Go on. We always like to make it clear the difference between a master plan and the zoning ordinance. The master plan, as I said, is that policy document, but it doesn't regulate the use of land. That is the zoning ordinance's job. We know that any changes that we have to the zoning ordinance requires public hearing, and work that we will do in the future following the adoption of the master plan will take place following that. And I apologize for the typo. Thank you for pointing that out. We'll remove that going forward. So as we think about, you can go to the next slide, please. What our master plan process was, it was spring of 2022 when we launched this process. And you know, it seems like a long time, and it was, but 2 years for a community to update a master plan in a comprehensive way, as you have done, takes time. It had not been done in some time. We did a lot of community engagement, as you all participated in and are aware, with 2 open houses and numerous, as you'll see on the next slide. But let me finish going through there real quick, if you can go back. Just the process for that, that we finished up the working draft in May. We've got the public hearing today, and then hopefully adoption of the plan by the Planning Commission, and then eventually to City Council following this. We had a lot of opportunities for public input. We had a couple of surveys. One was a market survey, one was a community survey. We had some small group meeting toolkits that went out. We collected a couple of those. The 2 open houses, we had an online engagement platforms, and then we had several forums specific for stakeholders relating to development, business, and real estate, and added in a small and minority business forum as well. So we had a lot of opportunities for people to participate, whether they were doing it online, whether they were coming in person to a meeting or dropping into one of our open houses. Next slide shows some of the public input findings. And a lot of this was really consistent with the things that you all articulated at the very beginning of the process. We talked about the community values, single-family neighborhoods, some of the natural features and parks and recreation opportunities, the location of the city. There's really nothing you can do about it, but it is a definite advantage and an asset. The family-oriented nature of the community and the diversity of the community. Those were a lot of things that we heard at the very beginning, and we heard them throughout the process. We also heard throughout the process that housing choices and lack of places to go and things to do were things that really people were concerned about, and they were also concerned about development and the impacts of development. Those were things, again, that we heard from the very beginning when we all met for the first time, as well as through the process. A lot of support for increasing non-motorized connections throughout the city. And again, that wasn't just about providing the sidewalks, but it was also providing places to which people can walk. And so those were things that we talked about as well, and the appearance of the city needing enhancement and improvement. Those were a lot of the public input findings that we came across as we collected. The next one. You'll recall that we created building blocks. These were effectively the goals of the process. They outlined the purpose for the plan, and they highlighted the community values that related to the plan itself. And these were informed by the Planning Commission, that first visioning that we did together at a joint meeting, and then as the Planning Commission continued to discuss and shape the goals. And so as you go through the planning document itself, you'll see reference to these building blocks. They appear on the different pages and the different subchapters. And so you can see then, if you're looking at that through those icons and the colors, how the different strategies and the different components of the plan relate to these building blocks, which we think is a really nice feature in helping people understand what they may be searching for. On the next slide, we have the vision statement that was created during the planning process, and that was included in there, including that the city will be an innovative, attractive, livable, safe, and financially stable community that embraces the diversity of its people and provides housing and economic opportunity for all of its residents. And I think as you read through the document, you can see all of those things being woven throughout. You'll see, and this is pretty early in the plan itself, which is nice because it sort of makes it be top of mind, the objectives that'll mark the milestones that show how we're achieving the goals or the building blocks, and we'll start to look at how the goals will be implemented. And so you can see as the objectives are listed there on the left-hand column, the building blocks are then articulated at the top and the colored icons as well. And you can see here too how some of the objectives will satisfy more than one building block. And so as we're thinking about prioritizing, which we'll do later, we may focus on those things that we can get a big bang for our buck on as well. Bless you. Next slide. We do have a big map of the future land use changes, if we want to, which is right over here, for the public who would like to see more of that up close. But this is included in the planning document, which I think is helpful in terms of understanding the changes that were made from the 2009 plan. And that's very hard to read. So if we go to the next slide, basically what we've done through our work together, simplifying the land use category, offer more flexibility, supporting a mix of uses, a mix of residential types, and promoting economic development in strategic areas, primarily focused on redevelopment, but also in ensuring that we're allowing development and supporting businesses in certain areas as well. And the next slide starts to get into the special study areas. So we spent, as you'll recall, a lot of time talking about the special study areas. All of them support a mix of uses. They all will involve zoning changes. They all include addressing more residential into the corridor to varying levels. This one in particular, the Grand River Corridor, the M5 interchange, the idea is here supporting entrepreneurs and startup businesses as well as minority-owned business owners and supporting them, encouraging art-based businesses and artisan manufacturing, and allowing infill development at West River. So there will be some zoning changes that need to happen here, as well as some of more economic development and other strategic actions that will be separate from the Planning Commission's activities. The next one is 12-mile corridor, transitioning from an office corridor to a mixed-use corridor, improving connections to the Hawk, exploring opportunities for post-incubator locations, so again, related to the Hawk, and improving safety for all modes of travel along 12-mile road. And one of the things that we talked about here is the incremental changes that could be envisioned over time to sort of set the table, or we don't expect to see major transformations happening overnight, but what kind of zoning changes can we put in place? What kind of economic development strategies can we employ that will allow us to see some changes happening over time gradually? The next one is housing strategies. This kind of is throughout the city and really encouraging a variety of housing options. And that is not to say that this is everywhere. As we talked at the beginning, as we talked through the whole process, the single-family residential neighborhoods of the city of Farmington Hills are very important and are to be preserved and protected. But in addition to that, where we can add more options to accommodate empty nesters, younger residents, and first-time home buyers, then we're trying to do that. And again, that's primarily through some of the mixed-use opportunities and some of the areas that we've noted there on the plan itself. The next one is 14 Northwestern and Orchard Lake Road. Again, reuse, encouraging renovation and redevelopment, encouraging a mix of uses. This is an area where we talked about allowing additional height and density because we don't have a lot of existing residents and neighborhoods that will be impacted. But again, additional zoning changes will be needed in this area as well, which also could really be enhanced in appearance. Orchard Lake Road, and so now we're south of that area, continuing to allow reuse and encouraging renovation and redevelopment. There may be some zoning changes that we need to use here to look at redevelopment concepts, improving design and landscaping standards, and again, this area could be enhanced and improvement. We did talk about, as you remember, adding residential, but not throughout the whole corridor of Orchard Lake Road, but really in those areas that are less commercially intense. So a little bit of a different kind of residential here to be tucked in. And then I think we have one more. Nope, that was it. The zoning plan is found towards the end of the document, and it is showing you, kind of goes back to the beginning of our slides where we talk about the master plan informing the zoning ordinance. In our zoning plan, we lay out all of the land use categories and we say, what are the zoning districts that align with those land use categories? And within there, there's some points of new districts or amended districts that need to be addressed, and those will be things that the Planning Commission can start working on as soon as you are ready. And I think that might be the last one. Last slide, yeah, here we go. So next steps, we have public hearing. You can adopt the master plan. If you want to do it tonight, that is awesome. I think everybody is ready to see that happen. If, however, you need more time, you do not need to feel pressured to do so. We do know that this is an item on City Council's agenda in August. So we are hopeful that they will also adopt the plan, and then we can start implementation. And I think one of the first strategies will be to have a joint meeting with the Planning Commission and City Council and talk about the priorities and begin to create some work plans around that. So with that, Joe and I are able to, we were going to share it, but then I just kept talking. So Joe, do you want to add anything?
No, thank you.
Okay. So any questions that you have, both of us are happy to answer it. And thank you. Thank you for all your hard work. I know it's been a long time. I know folks were getting ready to be done with this process, but you all had really good input. We hope that you enjoyed the process as long as it was. You learned a lot, and I think we learned a lot from you and the process as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Jill. Any questions? Oh, come on, I know you.
We had to do a public hearing before I can bring a motion.
We had, yes. I opened it and closed it because there was nobody here and he didn't want to speak, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
I move for a resolution of the City of Farmington Hills Planning Commission approving draft City of Farmington Hills 2024 Master Plan for Future Land Use, resolution number R-PC-1-24. And do you really want me to read this whole thing?
No, you can adopt the version that was in the packet.
Okay, I move to adopt the proposed resolution number RPC 124 has been given to all of the planning commissioners that are here as set forth in that resolution. And if that become the law of the land, how's that?
Second.
Support? Danielle? Okay, moved and supported. All those in favor, or do we need to do a roll call, Tom?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Passes. Yay. Okay, okay. Next, we have approval of minutes. Everybody read the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, is there support?
Second.
So moved to support, approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approval of minutes. Public comment? No, still nothing, okay. Staff or commissioner comments? Barry?
I didn't make mention that we did get some things in our packet with people making comments on the proposed master plan, and I read all of those things and took them all into consideration prior to making my motion, and also that we got something from Commissioner Gwen Markman, basically stating that our master plan, I like, it was kind of like a reverse thing. It's not inconsistent with all our neighbors, and none of our neighbors objected to it. I didn't know that we had Southfield Township as a neighbor, even though they said we're like 629 feet away, but they considered them to be a neighbor. I didn't know they were that close. But I just wanted to make that comment that we did get comments in, and that was taken into consideration as a part of the motion.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, no other comments? Looking for an adjournment.
I have one question. Are we going to get a written version of this thing?
Like a print.
Yes, Jill said.
Yeah,
Oh, after it gets passed by the council?
after council adoption, and we've incorporated all the changes and everything. It's finalized, then you'll get a printed copy.
They get to change the planning commission's master plan document, which is actually.
No,
I didn't think so.
no, they'd have to send it back to you. So,
When is the date?
be August 12th.
That's the only meeting, right? August?
That is the only meeting in the month of August, correct?
Okay,
We should go there. Just-
yes.
Oh, city council.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and supported for an adjournment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.
Where